One, two, three. Welcome to the show.
Get familiar.
Get familiar.
Get familiar.
Welcome to Win Big with Clinton Sparks. It's time to get familiar. Ladies and gentlemen, the person I'm about to have on the show right now is a dear friend, but even if she wasn't, I would wish to be her friend because she's super dope. And I'm super happy that she's my friend, and I'm super proud of her. She's one of the sweetest people. When we met, over 10 years ago, she's ran like every Fortune 500 company since then. I can't even keep up with how many companies she's been in charge of. And also a woman who empowers and inspires other women to be even doper than she is. That's when you know you're dope. When you're not like, you can't be as dope as me. When you're dope, you know when you know someone's dope? When you're like, when you see them trying to show you how to be doper than them. That's when you're certified dope. Ladies and gentlemen, Bozoma Saint John, baby. Let's go. Hi.
Hi, Clinton.
How you doing?
Man, that might be the best intro I've ever received in my entire career, okay?
Well, one, it's the truth. And two, I am an award-winning songwriter. So I know how to write some of these things to make it sound good.
Yeah.
But I don't even have to write it. You wrote it. Your life wrote what I just said. It wasn't putting no fluff on it.
Okay, well, those are facts also. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate it.
And I love that. That's another thing I love about you, Bozoma, is like, you're not afraid. Like, I don't know how to take compliments, right? I'm not someone that, I'm not good at when people, I don't think I'm as awesome as other people think I am, right? And like, I'm like, oh, thanks, man. So, and I just keep it moving. But I love that you like accept it, you embrace it, and you know it, you're aware. Like, and by the way, it's not a bad thing for somebody. I wish I had a little bit more like, I know I'm fucking dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I do know, deep down, I know that I'm dope. But like, I don't really outwardly project it as powerfully as you do.
Yeah. I think it makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable, right? Because then you have to be faced with other people's appreciation of you.
Yeah.
And it's hard for us to accept that. I mean, look, we could get into this whole psychological thing about that, but I actually think it's part of a protective mechanism, to help ourselves not get hurt by other people's expectations of ourselves.
Right.
Right. But look, I accept it because I'm like, look, I'm probably not going to meet everything that you want, but I know what I'm capable of and I know what I've done. And so when you compliment me, I'm like, yeah, that's right. You are correct.
Right. Dope. So, I want to talk about the history of you and how you got to where you are because it's such a fascinating story. And I think so many people can learn valuable lessons from your ups and downs, wins and losses. But one of the things I'm curious as being another executive is, do you suffer from this? Being so dope that other people are afraid, intimidated, and insecure of your dopeness in other executive roles that are like next to you or even higher than you. And you're like, do you ever have to play the balancing act of making sure the people above you don't feel like you really are doper than them? And if so, how do you do it?
Ooh, that is a great question. Oh, you came straight out the gate with that one.
Get familiar.
They're like, wow,
I'm kind of dope at this.
Look, you're the best at this. Okay, let's just go ahead and say it. Look, the truth of the matter is that yes, I have met quite a few people along my career journey who have been afraid of my light. Who've been afraid of not just my light, but my knowledge of my light. I think there are a lot of people who take advantage of people who they know have light. It happens a lot to people in the public space, right? Yeah. Where it's like you see somebody has star power, but they don't know they have star power. And then people take advantage of them, right? And so when somebody comes along who has star power and they know they have star power and they know how to use their star power, other people who want to manipulate that get very, very afraid. And often what happens then is that they strike out at that person. They try to make them insecure about it. They use the positive and turn it into negatives. It happens all the time. People try to knock you, right? You think you look cute. Somebody's just like, oh, no, that's too big or that's too, like loud or whatever the thing is they're going to use against you. Right. And so, yes, I have come against that. I would say earlier in my life, I was absolutely more driven to try to find the success, right? And so I was like, look, if somebody's intimidated by me, then I'm going to try and play the soft and play the quiet and play the under so that they wouldn't feel threatened. I learned a very big lesson. That shit don't work. It don't work.
How do you mean?
meaning that the people are going to be afraid of you anyway. It's nothing that you can control. You know, when you have it, you just have it. And the people who can see it and are threatened by it, they will see it always. It doesn't matter if you try to make yourself smaller, they're going to see it. And
Right.
so then my rationale was like, well, then why should I play small? You know, if you're going to see it anyway and you're going to be afraid of it, then I might as well just be who the hell I am
Yeah.
and not worry about it.
It's hard
And
to hide dope.
it's really hard to hide it, you know,
Yeah.
and then you gotta, you know, and then it makes it feel uncomfortable. It's like wearing clothes that are too small.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't you feel like tight and like all itchy and stuff? You know, when you make a mistake and slip up one time
Yeah.
and see something that like puts them at, you know, at odds with you because
Right.
they're like, oh, how do you know that? Or why do you have such a good idea? Or, ooh, why do those people like you so much?
Right.
And over here, like, oh, I don't know. I didn't really mean it. I
Well,
didn't.
that part right there, because I know you suffer from that, and I'm really curious to see, like, why do people love you so much? Why do you get things? Why do you have more opportunities? Why do people listen? Why do you know? And like, of course, there's going to be people that you work with, and sometimes even the boss, right? That thinks that they know as much as you know, right?
Yeah.
And they want to feel or look as cool or smart or as relevant as you. Now,
Yeah.
how many times in your businesses, because I know you've had to have dealt with this, where you're like, oh man, this dude really is not that, but he thinks he is, and he doesn't understand that I'm that. And if he
Yeah.
just pushes me in front, it'll help us all.
Yeah, yeah. But what I learned very quickly, and it's a good lesson. You actually said it in your intro about me, which is that I'm not afraid of other people's shine. I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I'm dope, and I think other people are dope too.
Right.
And the thing is that if you're not dope, I can help you get dope.
Right.
You know, and that's the power that I have.
Right.
You know, it's like I don't keep it to myself. It's like, look, if you need information in order to make you successful, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you freely, willingly, unapologetically. Like I'm not holding anything back. And so
Right.
that's part of the reason why people who are unafraid, right, of like my power like me, right? Because they know that I'm going to be selfless in that I'm really not hoarding it. I think there's enough light for us to shine. You know, it's like the analogy with the sun. Look, the sun shines on you and it shines on me. It doesn't take anything away from me.
Right.
For me to be like, hey, come stand with me. You know, like,
Right.
it takes nothing away from you. And so I think what happens is that it is a combination of having total security and confidence in your ability, and then therefore not being afraid to share it. I don't care about my, you know, back in the day, like your contacts. You know, it's like if you want to be introduced to somebody and I know that person, I'm gonna introduce you.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna hold that. Or if I have a piece of information that's gonna make the business better, I'm gonna give it to you. And the thing that I think makes me confident in doing that and being okay with giving away all the secrets is that it's like any recipe. You know, if you ask a chef to give you the recipe of the dish you love that they make, right?
Right.
They'll give it to you. They'll give you the entire. They'll tell you what temperature to put the stove on.
Yep.
They'll tell you what point to mix in the ingredients. But guess what? Your food is never going to taste like theirs, okay?
Right.
Because they have a little special something else. And so that's why I'm not afraid to give away the recipe. I'm like, look, you can have all the ingredients, and I'm still going to make it my way, and you'll make it your way, and it's
Right.
not going to be the same. So I think that's the point of view that I have about everything in life. I don't mind sharing what I've learned because I feel like everybody has the opportunity to shine. Everybody has the opportunity to be dope, and nobody's going to beat me.
Right.
And I think they be dope on their own. So why would I be afraid of that?
Yeah. It's just help. If I'm dope and I help you be dope, it doesn't make me be less dope. You know what I'm saying? If anything, you know, helping others be dope is being dope.
That's exactly right. And then we all gonna be dope together. You
But
know,
here's the problem.
Forever.
Here's the problem. As beautiful as that is, and I share the same sentiment,
Mhm.
you and I both know that's a rare breed, right?
Yeah.
It's a rare breed of people like that because people don't even know that they're nervous of you. People don't even know that you're that great, that you're doing that. And for example, when I was starting early in my career and I was trying to get on, you know, I'm trying to be a DJ, so I'm trying to get on the big radio station in Boston. The guy was doing everything for that guy. I was helping him get like drops from artists and intros, and I was waiting for the day for him to put me on, right?
Mhm.
And then his boss walks in the office one day and goes, how come Clinton isn't on our station? So I'm like, I'm in. The big boss just came in and said, right? So then right in front of me, this guy's my buddy, right?
Mhm.
And he's like, you know, let me see if I can move some things around. I'm like, wait, what? Like, we're boys. You should have been like, word, let's go. You start tonight, Clinton, high five, right? And then, so the guy go, what was that? And he goes, well, you know, I got to do it. I go, look it, dude, I know that you're nervous that I'm going to come in here and outshine you. Right? I know you know that I'm going to out hustle you. But here's the thing. I'm never going to try to dethrone you. I'm always going to point the light back at you and recognize you as the guy that put me on. I go, so it's a win-win. Like you
That's
look like a legend. And now guess what? I'm helping you look doper and you look dope because you brought in more dope. And like,
exactly.
yeah,
But that's, people are afraid that you're going to replace, that they're going to be replaced.
I feel like, tell me if you feel this way. I almost feel like I'm so much of a team player that sometimes I'm a sucker about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because you feel like you give so much and maybe you don't receive as much.
Well, yeah,
Is
because
that-
it's like I'd rather be on a team of all-stars than be an all-star on a bum team, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I want to give everybody the game. I'll do other people's jobs, and I don't even care if they still take the credit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But a lot of people don't feel that way, and that's why I think being as amazing as you are and being in such like huge, holding huge positions that you've held throughout your career, which are like the top, which I want to talk about how your journey to getting there, but like especially early on, you've had to have had people that were in a position, maybe they were there longer, they were a guy, whatever it may be, and they're looking at like, man, who is she? Like, what does she know? She ain't been doing this. And like, what was the first, can you give us one example of when you really flexed, not on purpose to like, to stun on somebody, but just your dopeness flexed on its own? And it was a moment where you realized, yeah, they know. They know.
Yeah. I mean, look, that has happened to me so often, by the way. The point you just made about, just somebody trying to stunt on you because they realize that you're dope and they want to quiet you. Hell, that happened a few years ago, and I'd already been a CMO. It's like I'd already been in the C-suite. It happens all the time, by the way. I
Right.
think, like, again, just back, because I want to land the point that this is really not a conversation about other people. I think sometimes the question is like, well, how do you manage those people, or how do you like just control them so they don't do that to you? And I'm like, it really has nothing to do with them. Move your focus from them. It's about you.
Right.
What is your confidence level?
Right.
As long as you are confident in what you are doing and really understand that, they don't matter. They will never win.
Right.
Because the thing is that as long as you are focused on yourself and focused on your own wins, their wins won't matter. And then therefore it's like when they try to like get in your way of your wins, they'll find that you're not keeping your eye off the ball. The analogy I like to use is, I ran track in high school and college. Okay. I was a sprinter.
Yep.
Ran the 100-meter dash, which, is like the fast race, right?
Let's go.
The key for the fast
Hey, and you're still running.
Look, okay, you better tell them. I'm still running.
Let's go.
Still winning, still collecting trophies, all right? But the key to that race is that, you start off in your starting blocks, you set, you hear the gun go off, and boom, you come out of your blocks. Now, if you step, even if your like little pinky finger moves off of that white tape and crosses the line, you're disqualified. If you come out the blocks too early, you're disqualified. If you step just a little bit into the white line that separates your lane from the next person's lane, you're disqualified. The whole point is that if you turn your head and look to the side of you, you are going to trip and fall. It is too fast to look at everybody else and figure out what they're doing. You have to pay attention to your own thing. Watch your hands, watch your position. When the gun goes off, run your own race. It's the same analogy that it's like, if you are so concerned with what everybody else is doing, you're going to fail. And so for me, the winning is about making sure that I'm focused on my own thing. So yeah, there were a few times in my career where I have flexed inadvertently, and have won that way. I mean, look, the very first one was coming straight into my first experience in the corporate world. I was working for Spike Lee at his agency, Spike DDB in New York. And I was nothing, I hadn't yet made anything.
Yeah.
I was his assistant, and he was going around the office asking people for their recommendations because he was going to pitch Pepsi for a commercial that he wanted to direct or wanted to create and direct. And
Hold on, pause for a second. I see where this is going.
You already know,
Go
okay?
ahead.
Exactly. So he was asking everybody for their opinion on who should star in the commercial. And people were giving their opinions. And, a lot of people were much older than me, much more advanced. I mean, look, I think I was like 23, and I really didn't know anything about marketing or advertising. And like I said, I was getting coffee and making copies, you know?
Yeah.
And he eventually, did ask me, which by the way, to his credit, very, very impressive, because how many bosses do you know who's going to ask the assistant their opinion, you know?
Right.
So let's give credit to him too. So he asked me my opinion on who I think it should be. And at the time, Beyonce was just leaving Destiny's Child, right?
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of successful solo artists coming out of girl groups at that time. You know, there was only one really, Diana Ross, you know, coming out the Supremes. And so nobody was giving her credit. You know, they were making fun of her. I think actually, who was it? I think it was like, I don't want to misquote anybody, but I believe it was The Source who wrote an article at that time comparing her and Ashanti. And they were like, you know, she's going to lose to Ashanti because Ashanti was just killing her in the Billboard charts.
With the hits, yeah.
With the hits, you know, and they were like, she should like rake it up, you know. It's like go back to Destiny's Child and try to make some more hits with them. So in any case, he asked me, and I said it was Beyonce, you know, and I said it because I'd seen her perform. By the way, not a great TV movie, but you know, it was on MTV. It was called Carmen the Hip Opera. I thought she was brilliant in it. You know, I just thought the concept was great, so I suggested her. Everybody else in the office, like, kind of, you know, snickered at it and, you know, was like making faces like, oh, look at this.
What's the assistant know?
Exactly. She knows nothing.
She forgot my cream in my coffee. She doesn't know.
Exactly. Homegirl just needs to go back to doing the copying. He took all of the advice. He went back. He looked up, you know, the people. He researched, and he came back and he decided it was going to be Beyonce. And so he agreed with me. I was the only person who said that. The only person. And so for that moment, and in that moment, it gave me some of the affirmation that I now use on the daily, right? Which is that, like, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Right. Even when somebody who is more experienced or more nuanced or has more degrees than me, I know what the hell I'm talking about because I understand cool. I understand what's going on. Thank you very much. So to me, it's like the first time that something like that happened where I could rely on myself as the one who understood the assignment.
Right. Well, I'm sure that one choice that was a winning choice wasn't all of a sudden you knew you were the shit. Like, when did you start realizing the power of you in your brain? You know what I mean? Like, because I know as I was coming up, we also have different like upbringings, but like my upbringing always led me to be like, kind of like, hey, Dad, look, I hit a home run syndrome. Like, I'm always trying to prove that I'm worthy to pay attention to, right? So like, I'd always like, I had another great idea. That I'm just a millionaire, just did this, just made that guy a star. And like, it took a long time for me to realize, oh, nah, the sauce is with me. Like, it wasn't luck. It wasn't like I just was in the right place at the right time. I'm creating the right places in the right times with the right people. So when was it for you that you finally realized, nah, it's me. I'm the common denominator why all these dope things happen?
That is a really tough question. It's a really, really tough question because I always knew it.
Right.
You know, it's a really tough question for me because I don't know that there was one awakening.
Right.
You know, I always felt like, and I know this is going to sound so wild, I know it, but I always felt like everybody else was just going to find out. Like, I always had that attitude. Yeah. You know, I always felt like, I can't wait till they realize this.
Hell yeah.
Like, I can't wait till they find out about me. You know, like all along from the very beginning.
Right.
Even back when you and I met. Yo, and by the way, that was 2005, just FYI.
Wow.
And I knew it then. And the funny thing is, at that time, I was already at Pepsi, already, you know, managing brand work on the multicultural marketing team. And look, I would present ideas and they'd be shut down, or, you know, like a boss who was hating would be like, no, that's not good. Go sit down somewhere. Yeah. You're not going to the budget to do that. But even the project we worked on, that, you know how many times that was shot down? A lot.
Really?
You know, a lot. And I still knew, I was like, no, this is dope. This is going to be amazing. Just wait to see it, you know? And then I would do it. It would be dope. And, you know, somebody inadvertently would be like, oh, it's only dope because X, Y, and Z thing, not you.
Right.
I think that I always knew it. I always knew it. And then that's what takes me back to the idea of self-assurance and self-reliance. Because the danger is that if you look for the affirmation somewhere else, or you're waiting for that moment to, you know, feel like, oh, you know what, I am actually the one, it can be as easily taken away. And that's the danger.
I think this is probably why you and I gelled so well when we first met, because I had the same, like when I was in groups and I was a producer back home, or I was in a dance group and I'm like, no, we got to move like this. No, the show's got to go like this. And everybody would look at me like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, no, trust me. So I understand, like, some people just fucking are born knowing. Like, you just know.
You
Like,
just
I don't
know.
know how you know. I don't know how I know. I just know.
I
And
just
like,
know.
and by the way, when I say I know, everyone in the room should just be like, okay, he know. Because by the way, I don't think I'm right all the time. So there's other times I'm like, I'm not sure if this is right. What do you guys think? Right?
Yeah.
And then, but when I know, I
Oh,
know. Like,
that's the key right there.
uh,
Like, and that's, I think, what again, sometimes I think the practice is the intuition and knowing that you know and being confident enough to say it loudly again and again and again. Too many times it's like, you know, but then the doubt creeps in because somebody else who probably is hating on you doesn't want you to be the right one. And so
well,
they
but here's the thing. What about other people that think they know? Like it's funny. Like Superman knows he can fly, right? But somebody else might be like, I can fly too. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you fight that? They think they can.
that's the thing. I think. Well, look, that's actually part of the challenge, right? Which is that like sometimes then you got to find a solution. I
Right.
think also what makes me a problem solver and probably what has helped me to gain the success I have, which is that instead of feeling like there's only one person who can fly, I have usually said, "Cool, great, you can fly, fantastic. We headed that way," and
Right.
then I take off, and you better be
You
behind me
gonna
because
keep up? You got your cape?
you fall down, I'm gonna leave your ass there because
Right.
you know what I mean? So don't be lying to me and then be down in the ground being like, oh, I broke a limb. No, you said you could fly, fool. Let's go.
Right. So one of the things, so you've always done so many things. You're multi-talented, and I know one of the things that's important to you, that's always been important to me since you've met me, was your own personal brand. And when I started in 2000, calling my, Clinton Sparks, Get Familiar, and everybody, I'd be like, nah, I'm a brand. People would literally laugh at me, and be like, what you talking about, a brand? And I'm like, yo, every great brand has a tagline. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I made myself, Clinton Sparks, Get Familiar. And everybody used to laugh at me all the time. And I know that you were really, kind of on that early too.
I'm going to say this for everyone who is in an underrepresented group, okay, that is in the corporate space or even entrepreneurial. We don't get the shots. We don't. So if you're not doing the job, guess what happens? Your ass gets fired, or you
Right.
don't get the client, or you don't get the funding. So it's not as if, look, I've met enough people who have been asleep at the wheel at their jobs who have been given grace.
Right.
I don't get that chance. So if I didn't do my job, my day job, my day-to-day job, and be the best at it, and I'm not talking about like I am just good enough. I
Right.
have to be the absolute fucking best, Clinton. Otherwise, I don't have the job.
Right.
And so to me, it's like I do that job and then I do other things, And so
Right.
what you see at the end of the day, like the output you see, is just me being a better worker, harder working than anybody else. Like I will outwork you to the end, and
Right.
that's my claim to fame, right? Is that
Right.
like I know that I am talented in the work that I do. I'm just gonna work harder than everybody else too.
No, but see, I understand those kind of brains because I think I'm one of them, right? And it's like, so I get, but I also run into people that don't get those kind of brains, and they're like, "Well, it's not possible. Nobody could possibly do this and do that and da da." da." I'm like, you don't understand. Like, this is my mind doesn't turn off. I don't have a punch in and punch out. If I'm working on 5 things, I'm making all 5 things move at the same time, and they're all having an impact. So I always said I don't get paid for my time. I get paid for my impact. You could be in the office for 40 hours. I make one fucking meeting and call and negotiate a fucking strategic deal. It did more than 5 of your employees that work 40 hours each.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like, you got to make the time count. I can't tell you how many people have asked me that question and then had the opportunity to actually shadow my life, or even other colleagues who, work closely with me, hell, assistants, like everybody who comes in, and they are all like, oh my God, how does this actually work? I don't understand how you're always on. The truth of the matter is that I am passionate about this life.
Right.
Clinton, telling you, I came and I'm going to get
I
everything.
know you. I know. Oh, is that your lunch? I'll eat that too. Like, I know. But
I mean,
the majority of people don't understand that. So it's really difficult for people that think on a high velocity like you to like constantly dominate and win and kill it. And like, I feel like people like you, no matter how many W's you put on the board, you're still going to have the people be like, yeah, but I don't know, man.
No, constantly, constantly. It's the doubt all of the time, or it's like it runs the gamut, right? So the people will say like, "Oh, please, like she's not that dope," or they'll say like, "Ah, she must be failing at something. Oh,
Right.
she couldn't possibly do the job well. She gonna get fired any day now."
Right.
There's people across the entire spectrum because the truth of the matter is that there aren't that many people who are willing to do all of the things and put all of the work in. They don't realize what it takes. And the thing is, I have the same 24 hours. And guess what? I also get my 8 hours of sleep. It's
Right.
just that I'm super productive in every hour that I'm awake. I always know that there's something to do and I'm going to do it.
Two important things that you said for the people that are listening is one, you still get hated on. No matter how dope you are, no matter how successful you are, people misled to believe when you're at the top that it must be easier or that you got it made or everybody believes in you or you can get any job that you want, right? So that's one thing I want people to realize. It's not true. Even when you're at the top, sometimes it's harder because you got to keep proving why you should be at the top, right? And then the other thing you said is that you got coffee and did copies, and now look where you are now. So
Listen.
I want people to realize, like, especially this generation, they feel like they got to be lit day one. And
No.
guess what? Being lit is actually willing to do the shit that others might not think is lit so that you will be lit when they're still dim because they're trying to chase lit.
That's exactly right. And
Right.
also, and I think the other key for that is that I have been lit in every job, even when I was getting the coffee and making the copies.
Right.
It's like I always felt like I was on, always. And so there was no destination. And so when people are like, "Oh, well, you've reached the top, you're successful, now you can relax." I'm like, "Relax where? What are you talking about?"
Right.
I'm still on this journey. I still got things I want to do. I still have things I want to accomplish. And so for me, it's not the destination I'm on. And I know it sounds so corny to say that, it's like the journey that matters, but it really does.
Right.
At every station, I have felt and found the joy
Yeah.
and the in the job, every single one. And
Yeah.
that's why I feel like I'm still able to have the passion that I do
Yeah.
without being burnt out on it. Because people sometimes have the idea that like, oh, I have to be dope this very moment in time. And if I'm not, then oh my God, what happens in 10 years? Well, find the thing that makes you dope right now. And then guess what? You'll get to the next stage and you'll find the thing that makes you dope then. Because the thing is that people always find a way to tell you that you're not. And so you better find it for yourself.
I want to bring up this story because this is one of my favorite memories of you, right? So when we first met back at PepsiCo, and shout out to Renee and Lillette for making all
Oh
that
my
happen,
God,
right?
yes.
So we were walking through the building, and with Erica Priestley, right? And, yeah, so we were all walking through the building, and at the time, all I did was drink Lipton tea and eat Quaker oatmeal, right? And I'm walking through, and I go, and this is Pepsi for the people that are paying attention, because you might be confused the same way I was. So I'm walking down, I go, why do you guys have so much Lipton tea and Quaker oats? This is my favorite. And then you guys like, oh, Pepsi bought it. And I was like, and I just did a deal with Pepsi, so now I get to have free Quaker oats and Lipton. And then a week later, you guys sent a whole pallet to my house of tea and Quaker oats.
Exactly. Because you know what? You like to take care of the people who take care of you. That's
Yeah.
that's the real lesson also, right? The keys.
And,
But yeah.
in your words, Bozoma, whether you know it or not, a lit path to success for those people that are listening. So you're taking care of people all the time, outside of your beautiful daughter, outside of yourself. There's so many people that are, obviously empowered and inspired by your words, including myself. The world needs beacons of light like you. And I'm really excited that you came on the show, and I'm happy to call you my friend. I love you.
I know. I'm so happy. And by the way, look, a lifetime of friendship. This is so awesome. And it's wonderful to see your continued success, Clinton. I'm really, really proud of you. And
Thank you.
I'm really glad to know you too. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the quote on my book, by the way.
Oh, no, I had to because look, you dope as fuck.
Bozoma St. John, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you follow her at, what's your handle? At Badass Boz, BADASSBOZ. At BADASSBOZ. Get familiar, Bozoma St. John. Love you, be safe, talk to you soon.